Hey folks, this is Shane Greer, co-owner and co-publisher of Campaigns and Elections, back with another video interview, and this time I am with Josh Justice from Peerly, who I know a lot of folks in the industry know. We're always appreciative of Peerly being a sponsor, and we're here today to talk about a new product, a new feature. How do we describe this? AMP AI. I mean, everyone is talking about AI at the moment, but when you sent me this across to have a look at what you're delivering, it's not just the kind of chat GPT of like generative AI. There's a lot more to it. So give me the kind of, what's the problem that this is solving?
Yeah, absolutely. We just launched a few days ago. I guess officially it's been in beta for a number of months. A lot of people are using it right now in the industry, and congratulations to you as well on your recent product launch. That's was pretty
a lot less
awesome.
technical than what you're doing, though.
I think, but at the same time, I think very beneficial to the industry, right? And I think that's the goal. We have to solve issues, and that's what AMP does. We set out to build AMP to solve what I would consider a monumental challenge, and that was that 77% of campaigns lack the resources to really engage voters in two-way dialogue, specifically when using large format communications like text messages or email. What happens is you end up getting a lot of inbound replies or inbound questions, and it becomes very, very difficult to process that. For example, you send out 20,000 messages, and you send out 1 million messages, 20,000 people reply. It creates an immediate bottleneck. And you're not able to deal with that. It was something that we heard a lot about, because when we launched peer-to-peer texting a number of years ago, we loved the technology. We loved the idea of this two-way dialogue that was going to happen, and we were noticing it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And this technology that's so powerful, being peer-to-peer texting, just turned into this static form of communication of just one way, and we want to change that. So AMP AI does that. It does that and quite a bit more. It will actually categorize and sort and manage all of the inbound digital messages that are coming in. It will reply to these messages for you, essentially, but it does it in the campaign's own voice by using campaign-approved messages. So we're able to deal with the ethical component as well. And that's not all either. AMP actually dissects the conversations and looks for key insights and takes those insights and databases it, augments your database in real time, making your data smarter. And then you're able to go and ask AMP later on to create you a custom list based on that information. For example, you could say, give me a list of voters in Arizona that are most likely to vote, or give me a list of young people in Ohio. Maybe you're doing an upcoming rally or something. And AMP is actually going to go through and generate that based on past conversations. So it takes something like peer-to-peer texting, solves a massive issue, as well as there's a huge data component to it by augmenting your database and making your data smarter as well. We're pretty excited to have it out there.
And I think that there's a lot that's interesting about this, but let's just touch on that sort of list development side of it. There's so much kind of input that political campaigns get that they're actually not able to utilize, right? And you think about all of the inbound, and this is one example where you're actually able to take information that you're already being given, but now turn it into something that's wildly useful. I mean, that strikes me as kind of another kind of game changer for campaigns who are always looking for that slight edge when it comes to targeting and outreach.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine? Imagine the amount of text messages that go out during a campaign, and every single one of these campaigns, it results in thousands and thousands of replies. These voters are asking questions like, I want to donate, I love your candidate, or they might be saying something negative. They might be asking for information on education, or what's your policy on this? They're not being responded to. And if they're not being responded to, it means nothing's even happening with this data to begin with. So imagine, we're going to do something with the actual data. We're going to make your data way smarter by using the insights that the voters provided to us. And at the same time, we're going to actually get back to these people. but we're going to do it using the help of AMP as opposed to using hundreds of volunteers. We say that AMP kind of gives you the power of 1,000 volunteers. It puts 1,000 volunteers in your pocket because it'll literally do the work of 1,000 volunteers. It'll process 50, 100,000 inbound minutes or inbound messages in a matter of seconds, and then it allows just one volunteer in AMP to go through and send replies in rapid fire. And remember, because it's actually matching the replies to the campaign's own messaging, it's not going to overstep boundaries, and it's not going to make up something silly like we see happening in with these chatbots. And that's why AMP is not a chatbot at all, but it does use a generative component, but does not even come close to treading on some of those more ethical generative concerns that we're seeing more and more out there.
And that's a great subject to pick up on here, because we've seen this kind of technology employed in other industries. I think immediately of real estate, and kind of, you text to see an apartment, and actually you're chatting with kind of a generative tool of sorts. And you made a point right at the top that AMP AI enables campaigns to have a tool that speaks in their voice, and avoids those kind of ethical problems, and not just ethical problems, just kind of mistakes and going off brand, going off message. How does that work? How does a campaign get its voice into the AMP AI system?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. That was one of the big problems that we had. We started seeing a lot of generative use of AI, and it doesn't take long before AI goes off script. We're not in a typical industry. We're in politics, which means that we're speaking on behalf of candidates to voters. It's serious business. We can't have a rogue AI speaking on behalf of a presidential candidate. So what we've done is we've allowed the campaign to be able to upload their own messaging as well as their own templates to common questions. And from there, what would happen is AMP will categorize and sort messages from positive and negative. Negative ones are opted out automatically, so the campaign doesn't have to deal with them, and so the voter doesn't have to hear from the campaign again. The positive messages are then analyzed to find out, does the voter want to reply? Is this a question or is it a comment? And from there, if it's a question, then it's going to go and it's going to match it from a list of pre-approved answers. And if it does not have a pre-approved answer, then it's going to create a suggestion. And then the campaign can go through and approve or deny that particular suggestion. So regardless, at no point in time is the AI sending out messages on behalf of a campaign without oversight. There's always going to be a human involved. The difference is, instead of needing hundreds of people to process thousands and thousands of messages, you just need AMP and one person.
Yeah. And when we, I'm thinking about just the number of different ways that this kind of can raise the game for campaigns. Is there you mentioned that campaigns can put in their kind of, this is the standard language that they would be using or so on. The nature of interacting with humans is humans themselves go off script, right? And somebody throws you a curveball. How does the system deal with that? Does it spit it out then to like a human operator? Like, how does that work? Like, how does it help campaigns navigate the kind of the wildness of like human interaction when it goes off script?
Yeah, and it happens all the time. So we have found that for the most part, we can be very accurate to determine whether or not we're in a positive or a neutral or a negative territory. So if we're in a positive or neutral territory, then we're able to go through and we're able to find out, what do they want? Are they looking for an answer? Are they looking for feedback? Are they looking just to give us feedback? In that case, if it is an actual question, then we can go through and we can actually match that directly to one of these pre-approved templates or messages that the campaign has given us. Now, it's impossible to set up a pre-approved template for every possible question. I mean, it would be a monumental task in its own. So when AI is not 100% sure, or at least close to it, that it has found the most pertinent reply, then it will actually move these into a different section. It will suggest a template and also suggest the writing of the template based on the candidate's policy and based on who the candidate is. And then from there, it does require a human to go through and say, yes, we're going to use this, it's appropriate, or no, this question's coming up with a lot. We're going to go through and we're going to type up our own response. And then in the future, for all the future messages, this template will then be used. And every time that message is approved from AMP, then AMP gets smarter. And AMP begins to know, okay, this is the type of questions that how the campaign wants to answer this specific question, or this one was flagged, they've come up with this one, so all future questions are going to be tagged over here. So its ability to kind of have the best of both worlds without trusting AMP to generate and carry on a conversation with the voter, which we personally do not believe in.
And what's interesting about that is, one, you're providing kind of a peace of mind to campaigns. But one thing we keep talking about with AI is how, when it comes to people's jobs, it's an augmenting tool. It enables people to do more and to bring a higher level of skill to the table. So when you have something like that, where the curveball question comes in, AMP AI then redirects it to the human volunteer, the human staffer. That human staffer in that moment is now doing a much more value add task than they would be doing now without a tool like that, right?
Yes, exactly. I mean, we're going to liberate a lot of volunteer resources, and we're going to be able to free up those volunteer resources to do other things. The individuals that are able to then go through and help send those messages in rapid fire, there's going to be a lot less oversight required, because, of course, very few campaigns are going to rely on a campaign or want to rely on a volunteer to go through and answer, thousands of questions in their own voice, because a volunteer also could make an error, and if they're speaking on behalf of a big candidate, well, that's not a great thing, right?
Yeah.
So here's a way to make sure that the exact correct answers are going to the voters at the same time, without wasting a volunteer's time, and we can use the volunteer resources a lot better than that anyway. So look, it's like 1,000 volunteers. We're giving you your own battalion of 1,000 volunteers in this tool. So if you're a small campaign or a big campaign, you're going to be able to use this, and it's going to have a massive impact.
Josh, this has been fantastic and fantastically interesting. Josh Justice of Peerly, and talking about the new tool AMP AI. There will be a link, depending on where we are here, to check that out. But Josh, as always, thank you for taking the time to chat with us. I'm so excited about stuff like this, because it's totally transforming how things are done. And over the next year, we're really going to see that transformation take place. So thanks for taking the time today. Thanks for sharing this with us, and I'm sure we will see you again soon.
Appreciate your time, Shane. As always, we appreciate it here at Purely. You take care and have a great day.
Speak soon.